Hi, welcome to the Dynamic Duel Podcast, a weekly show where we review superhero films and debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters in stat-based battle simulations. I'm Johnny DC.
And I'm his twin brother, Marvelous Joe.
And in this DC-packed episode, we will be reviewing DC's latest animated film, Green Lantern, Beware My Power. It surprisingly is an adaptation of Green Lantern Emerald Twilight, if you know that storyline.
It also adapts the Ranthanagar War.
It adapts a number of stories, and I think it did so mostly successfully. We'll get into that later on in the episode. Before that, we're going to break down the comic book movie news items from the past week, of which the big news that Warner Brothers Discovery has canceled the Batgirl film and has sent shockwaves throughout the industry. And we're going to be talking about how Joker Folie Deux has received a fall 2024 release date.
As always, we list our segment times in our episode description, so check out the show notes if you want to skip ahead to a particular topic. Don't forget, guys, to join us on Patreon, where we offer ad-free episodes of this show, bonus content including top 10 episodes and bloopers, monthly live movie watch-alongs, and access to our Discord chat server. Check it out right after this episode at patreon.com/dynamicduel, linked in our show notes. Our lowest tier is only $2 a month.
Yeah, it's only $2. What else can you get for only $2 a month?
Nothing this good. I mean...
Absolutely, I agree.
I mean, our top 10 episodes, we've counted down things like Marvel and DC's top 10 video games, the top 10 comic book couples,
top comic storylines
and artists. You got to join the party on Patreon and then join us on Discord where you can chat with us.
And don't forget, for $10 a month, you could become an executive producer of this show and help us determine our episode content. We get so many requests from all over social media about which episodes we should do.
And we listen to none of them.
Right. If you really want input on what episodes we do, become an executive producer.
Yep, that's the best way. But with that out of the way,
quick to the No Prize.
A No Prize is an award Marvel used to give out up until the 90s to fans. Our version, the Dynamic Duel No Prize, is a digital award we post on Instagram for the person that we feel gave the best answer to our question of the week. Last week's question was, what was your favorite DC or Marvel trailer to have come out of San Diego Comic-Con this year, and why? There were 5 trailers. It was Black Panther, She-Hulk, Black Adam, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and The Sandman.
Right.
We got a number of great answers. Let's go ahead and run down our honorable mentions as well as the No Prize winner. Our first honorable mention goes to Landon Parker, who said,
first of all, let me thank you both for putting me as the No Prize, even though I didn't have much competition 2 weeks in a row. Let's see if I can keep it up. So, the trailer I like most, She-Hulk, Attorney of Law. Breaks fourth wall. I think it was great, and I'm happy to see Bruce Banner Hulk again. So, that's my answer. Let's keep up the streak.
Yeah, all of the trailers that came out of Comic-Con were pretty good. She-Hulk was no exception. It was really nice to see a little bit more of the story that's going to happen throughout its first season, which is coming out in just a few weeks. It was especially interesting to see how they're going to do the fourth wall breaks, which of course pays homage to the breaks that used to happen in the comic books with John Byrne and subsequent writers.
Plus, it looks like the show's going to have cameos galore, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Obviously the Hulk, but also Daredevil.
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Abomination, I'm here for it.
Lots to look forward to. Hopefully it's good. We'll find out in just a few weeks.
Our next honorable mention goes to Zachary Hepburn, who said,
hey guys, Zach Hepburn here, and I have to say my favorite trailer coming out of Comic-Con had to be Black Adam, hands down. The quality of the movie looks amazing. The Rock, hands down, doesn't do bad work, right? And, you know, he's going to change the power hierarchy in the DC universe, you know what I mean? So, you know, Hawkman looks amazing. Fate looks great. Cyclone looks cool as hell. The Atom, great. So, or Atom Smasher.
Yeah, like I said last week, I thought this Comic-Con sneak peek that we got for Black Adam was a much better sell of the Black Adam film than the trailer that they released previously.
Especially selling the idea of him as an anti-hero.
Absolutely, because again, we see him battling a bunch of JSA heroes, so it almost sells him as a villain.
And the special effects on the heroes were actually really good.
Oh man, it looked fantastic.
That Dr. Fate fight is going to be trippy as hell, I think, given that Black Adam is going to be changing the hierarchy of power within the DC universe.
Well, I think that this trailer altered the hierarchy of excitement that I have for films coming out this year. October's not far away, so get pumped. Thanks for the answer, Zach. And if you're not listening to Movie Night with the Boys, Zach's podcast, you should be. I recently did a guest spot on their podcast where I reviewed Netflix's The Gray Man.
I haven't seen it yet, so I haven't listened to that episode yet, so I need to watch and then listen. Our next honorable mention goes to Dustyn Balcom, who said,
Hey, Dynamic Duel, Dustyn Balcom here. My favorite announcement from San Diego Comic-Con was definitely the Shazam trailer. It's a family favorite show of ours. We love the movie. We watch it all the time. It became our Christmas movie, so that's my answer. Also, Johnny, don't listen to Joe. Sandman hype all the way. Let's go.
Oh, dude, I never listen to Joe. Like, that's not even a problem. Of course, Sandman hype all the way. If you guys aren't watching Sandman, I'm already 5 episodes in. Start watching it.
Is it good?
Is that even a question? It's phenomenal.
Oh, all right. But Dustyn was talking about Shazam! Fury of the Gods. That was his favorite trailer. It was my favorite trailer to come from DC, for sure.
Same here. It just looks so fun, and the first movie was so great, and it just looked like more of that. So I'm really excited for it.
Dustyn Balcom has a podcast of his own as well called What in the Anime? If you guys watch anime films or series, Dustyn's podcast is a must listen as they talk about the best anime to have come out. Thanks for the answer, Dustyn. We want to give a very special thank you to listener Lak Stangi for taking the time to record his answer on our website. Guys, if you also want to contribute your answer to our question of the week, be sure to visit our website and record your answer. Don't put it off because you will forget to do it.
Yes.
It happens.
Do it right now.
Yeah.
Just do it right. Well, not once you hear the question, do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't hesitate.
The winner of this week's No Prize goes to Brandon Estergard, who said,
Hey guys, favorite trailer definitely goes out to Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I think that movie has an impossible task in kind of handling the whole Chadwick Boseman situation respectfully and honorably. And from the trailer, you kind of get the sense that it's being done justice. Aside from that, just the visuals are stunning. I can't wait to see, Namor and whoever becomes a new Black Panther.
Yeah, the visuals on Wakanda Forever look amazing, especially like the underwater visuals. I always trash talk Namor because I think he's a really stupid character, but it's going to be really hard to do that once this movie comes out, I feel like.
No, you're going to be slapping yourself when you realize just how cool Namor the Submariner is, especially as he's represented in the upcoming Wakanda Forever film. I can't stop thinking about this trailer ever since I've seen it. I've been listening to a lot of Bob Marley lately, too. I think just influenced by that rendition of No Woman, No Cry that was in the trailer.
Great rendition.
Yeah, it just affected me, I think. And hopefully, subsequent trailers can keep this up, because in my mind, the first teaser for Wakanda Forever was almost flawlessly executed.
I don't even need another trailer.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sold. I'm there opening day this November. Definitely the movie I'm looking forward to the most this year. Definitely the best trailer to come out of Comic-Con. So thanks, Brandon Estergard, for calling in, and congrats for winning this week's No Prize. Again, if you, the listener, want a shot at winning your own No Prize, stay tuned to later on this episode when we'll be asking another question of the week. And now that that's done,
on to the news! Okay, so the Batgirl film starring Leslie Grace, we've known about it for a while. It was almost done with post-production. It's been through some test screenings, and we learned on Tuesday that David Zaslav, the head of Warner Brothers Discovery, has decided to cancel the Batgirl film altogether, so it won't be appearing on HBO Max or in theaters.
And that's fucking huge. How often is a film canceled after it's already done? Film basically about ready to come out. That's crazy.
Yeah, and how often does a studio can a film that is $90 million?
Right.
Or 80, depending on what trade you're following. That's no minor thing there.
Right.
They're losing a ton of money by canning this film. So, of course, everyone started speculating why. Why would this happen? From what we've heard, it looks like from the test screenings that Batgirl went through, the film just wasn't good enough to be released.
Yeah, there are conflicting reports as to whether or not people enjoyed the film, but unanimously, it seemed like people said that the movie was not big enough for a theatrical release and felt more like a television pilot.
Right.
So to that end, basically the Batgirl movie was too small for the big screen, but too expensive for the small screen.
Yeah, of course, Warner Brothers had to play damage control. So during their investor meeting the following Thursday, David Zaslav said basically that he's very protective of the DC brand and is not going to release a film that perhaps could tarnish it. Zaslav is very old school, and he doesn't want to make films for streaming when he could release those films in theaters and make more money off of them and then just release them on streaming later on. And apparently everybody hates him for it. Like, even after that investor meeting, the stock still crashed.
Wow.
Like, so far that I was able to purchase shares, which I'm happy to say now I am now a shareholder of DC. If you guys thought I was biased before, just wait. All DC films are going to be 5 stars because they need to make money.
Oh man, I would purchase Disney stock, but it's just so much more expensive than Warner Brothers stock because it's just a better company.
I mean, as a shareholder, speaking on behalf of DC now, fuck you. I wonder if I'm allowed to do that. Probably not. But I mean, and I'm no stockbroker, but I think the stock is just going to go up because I'm really excited about the things that Zaslav had to say, including that he wants a 10-year plan for DC films going forward.
Yeah, and he wants it all executed by a new head for DC Films, which is now its own studio.
Yeah, we learned that was going to be the case earlier this year, but that was confirmed on Thursday. Of course, the current head of DC Films, Walter Hamada, almost quit when he learned that Batgirl was being canceled. For now, though, he's agreed to stay on until at least Black Adam comes out.
I say good riddance. I don't think Hamada's done much during the course of his tenure. I mean, they put out some great films in his time, such as The Joker and The Batman, but the lack of a long-term plan, I think, has always hurt DC Films. And Hamada's always been a proponent of the whole multiverse approach, which is basically do whatever you want. And that just doesn't really fly as shown by the precedent given by Marvel Studios.
Well, it's definitely not an approach that will make you the money that Marvel has made, absolutely, which I think is what Zaslav wants for the DC brand. But apparently, whoever comes on board to take the helm of DC Films, and hopefully that's sooner rather than later, their plan won't start until after The Flash. There was a lot of speculation that once Batgirl was canceled, The Flash was going to be right after that, and that Aquaman 2 would be the last DCEU film, but it doesn't look like that's the case. It actually looks like The Flash will be the last one, and hopefully, since it takes its inspiration from like Crisis on Infinite Earths and Flashpoint, it will be used to reboot DC continuity and create a new cinematic universe.
Yeah, they have the perfect setup there to do it. But then what happens to Robert Pattinson's Batman?
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, Zaslav has said that he really, really liked the Batman and wanted that to be sort of like the standard for DC films going forward. He mentioned that DC films were going to only be released when they were ready to be seen by the public, which has led to some speculation that Shazam and Aquaman and potentially The Flash will be delayed.
Why? Why is the perception that those films aren't ready?
It's been speculated because special effects are not all the way there, apparently. And when Zaslav was asked about it, he didn't confirm or deny that was going to be the case.
Well, I mean, a lot of those films still have quite a bit of time before their release date.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Aquaman is scheduled for next summer. Now they're saying it may be pushed to December of 2023, but that's just speculation. That could just be a rumor. We're not exactly sure.
But that would push The Flash into 2024.
Which, if I'm being honest, I kind of hope they end up just canning The Flash. I am so sick of Ezra Miller shit. If you're listening right now, Ezra Miller, fuck you. And
You're saying that a lot.
If you are one of Ezra Miller's like cult followers who are living in his house allegedly, you could tell him that I said, Ezra Miller, fuck you.
Jeez.
The Business Insider recently released an article kind of detailing more of the allegations that are being levied at Ezra Miller, and it is horrible stuff. So I think as excited as David Zaslav is for the film, he said that he's seen it and that it's really good. If Ezra Miller keeps up with this shit, they're not going to be able to release the film.
And of course, if The Flash gets delayed, it delays the eventual reboot.
Exactly, right. Honestly, I've been so conflicted this past week over just despair over the state of DC films right now and just hope for what it could be. I'm excited for the reboot once it eventually happens, and I'm kind of impatient for it. I kind of wish it would just happen sooner rather than later. Whatever this 10-year plan is, I think it's got to be better than what we currently have. Like, I don't need the Michael Keaton cameo or anything like that. I just want like a new Superman movie. I want a cohesive universe. I want this 10-year plan. But that brings us to our question of the week. If you were rebooting the DCEU as the new head of DC Films, what would be your 10-year plan in 30 seconds?
Yeah, remember you only have 30 seconds, so speak fast. Let us know what films you would kick off this new DC Films universe with.
Record your answer at dynamicduel.com by clicking on the red microphone button in the bottom right-hand corner, which will prompt you to leave us a voicemail. Your message could be up to 30 seconds long, and don't forget to leave your name in case we include you on the podcast. We'll pick our favorite answer and award that person a Dynamic Duel No Prize that we'll post to Instagram. Be sure to answer before August 13th. So one of the films for sure coming potentially after The Flash is the Joker sequel, Joker Folie, Deux, which I'm super excited for. As a part of the damage control that Warner Brothers had to do in the wake of their Batgirl news, they announced and officially confirmed that Lady Gaga would be playing Harley Quinn in the Joker sequel, which we've known about, but they released a pretty cool teaser on social media to announce the news. It was set to the tune of Fred Astaire's Cheek to Cheek, classy song, super classy.
Okay.
And it had silhouettes of the Joker and Harleen Quinzel in a dress, it looked like?
Yeah, it was like some kind of ballroom gown.
Yes, yeah. And they're just dancing. It was red, kind of frightening, typography-wise and just like visual-wise. So juxtaposed with this really happy music, it was just really interesting.
It was okay. It was a little, low effort in terms of the animation of these silhouettes.
Low effort and interesting, not mutually exclusive.
All right. We are not going to get an actual teaser for probably another year or so.
Yeah, because the official release date is October 4th, 2024. So pretty close to the date of the original film's release.
Yeah, I like that it has an October release date. I think that's very fitting for this Joker sequel. Given that, the first one dealt with some kind of frightening concepts.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see if this one can carry those same themes with that same intensity.
And maybe we'll see an older Bruce Wayne in the movie. Maybe a young adult.
Maybe. Who knows? All I know is I'm super excited for the movie, and 2024 can't come soon enough. But I think that does it for all the news for this episode. Now let's move on to the main event, where we review DC's latest direct-to-video animated film, Green Lantern, Beware My Power. Green Lantern Beware My Power is DC's newest animated direct-to-video film and the first Green Lantern film in DC's newest animated universe, which has been dubbed the Tomorrowverse since it began with the 2020 animated film Superman Man of Tomorrow.
I have not heard this yet.
Yes, it's a thing.
The Tomorrowverse.
Right.
Okay.
Beware My Power is only the 5th film in the Tomorrowverse, most of which have been good, including this film. If you're not watching DC's animated films, you should be. I know many of you aren't because these DC animated film reviews are some of the least listened to episodes of this podcast. But if you're despairing over the state of DC films right now, or like ever, trust me, check out DC's animation.
Yeah, honestly, the DC animated films are really good. If they adapted a lot of those films into live action, I think DC right now would be on par with Marvel Studios.
Oh, hands down. Hands down.
Yeah.
Yes. If you haven't seen Green Lantern Beware My Power yet, I recommend you stop listening to this review now because we will be going into spoilers, including a major twist that is revealed at the end of the film. Still here? All right. Now, I knew very little about the story of this film going into it. Like, from the trailers, I knew that Jon Stewart was Hal's replacement on the Justice League, and that it would feature several of its members, including Martian Manhunter and Hawkgirl. I didn't have a good idea of who the villain was going to be. Basically, I went into this film very fresh. So I was pleasantly surprised that it featured some of my favorite storylines from the comics, including Emerald Twilight, the Ranthanagar War, little bits from Green Lantern Rebirth, the Sinestro Corps War, Mosaic. It mishmashes a lot of these stories together, so I can see how it may be overly complex to the average viewer, but I actually didn't mind all of the ground it covered, and I think it juggled everything that was going on in a mostly satisfying way.
I mean, certain storylines definitely got more screen time than others. I think it kind of butchered the whole parallax thing.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, considering this is the first time we've even seen Hal Jordan within this Tomorrowverse, it was shocking that they just went straight there.
No, I will absolutely agree that DC kind of cheated a bit in jumping into an established Justice League right away.
Yeah.
Like, even if you've seen the 4 other Tomorrowverse films, you'd likely be confused going into this one and feel like you may have missed 1 or 2 films in the series. Like, I felt that way.
Yeah, because I think in Justice Society World War II, that was the first mention of the concept of a league. And
Right.
apparently that whole thing got established and already had a bit of history by the time we got to this film.
Yeah, like, even with the Justice Society film, like, how did Wonder Woman all of a sudden become a member of this league? We're not sure. We haven't seen that.
I bet you the Wonder Woman in that movie was Hippolyta.
Maybe they'll go that route. That's totally possible. I would have especially liked to have gotten to know characters like Green Arrow and, like you said, Hal Jordan before this film, because it would have made the storytelling, especially the ending of Beware My Power, that more impactful.
Yeah, we should have gotten a Justice League movie first and then this film.
Or maybe even another Green Lantern film that sort of set up like all of the different emotional colored entities in the universe, and then audiences would have had an idea of who Parallax was before this.
Yeah.
That said, I really like Jon Stewart as a character. He's recently been made my most favorite Green Lantern, like ever since our duel episode between him and Quasar. So I was glad he got the chance to star in his own Green Lantern film, since I also know for many people, he was the Green Lantern they grew up with from the Justice League animated series.
He's definitely the most interesting human Green Lantern, I think.
Yeah, I
For my
agree.
money.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Hal Jordan is hands down the most iconic Green Lantern, but if you're going to start your new animated universe with Jon Stewart, the Emerald Twilight storyline where Hal was driven insane and killed the entire Corps isn't a terrible approach, considering it sets the stage for a new Green Lantern like Jon.
So in that regard, it was kind of interesting that they essentially gave Jon Stewart Kyle Rayner's backstory in this movie.
It was kind of a mixture between Kyle Rayner's and Hal Jordan's, in that there was a crashed spaceship involved, but also that he was made the last Green Lantern by an Owen named Ganthet.
And can you remind us what Jon Stewart's real origin was from the comics?
Basically, Guy Gardner was injured, and so the Owens needed a backup replacement for Hal Jordan, and they deemed Jon Stewart worthy enough. But also, you know, Jon Stewart was a subject of prophecy among the Owens themselves in the comics, in which they said he would be, a special Green Lantern, and he ended up being one. So I don't actually mind that they made him like the special Green Lantern, the last one that would restart the Green Lantern Corps after Hal destroyed it.
Man, I really hope no one's listening to this review without having seen the movie, because the twist when it came to Hal Jordan in the film, where you saw him kill one of the members of the Sinestro Corps so brutally, and then in my mind I was like, are they going there with this? Are they going to do Emerald Twilight or not? I had no idea, and just the shock of it happening was pretty surprising.
I honestly didn't even think about Emerald Twilight. I just thought, like, it really wasn't Hal Jordan. I didn't catch on until I saw all the rings on his hands, which was something from the comics. It's actually a pretty iconic comic book cover where he has all the Green Lantern rings on his fingers. And I was like, oh shit, this is Emerald Twilight. I got super excited. The film does have this theme of heroism and what it means to be a hero in regards to killing. Like, Hal was definitely teased as a villain early on because he was killing bad guys. But I feel like they kind of botched their whole theme when they made Jon Stewart kill Sinestro.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Although I guess that was self-defense.
Yeah.
So maybe not. Maybe the theme is intact. Killing is okay as long as you're defending your own life, I guess.
I mean, if there's no other option.
And you're about to be killed.
Yeah, makes sense.
It's not an easy topic, but this film addressed it, which was kind of awesome. You know what else was awesome? The animation.
Yes.
Like, this film carries on the newish vector-style character animation that began in Superman, Man of Tomorrow. I thought they perfected that style in the 2-part Batman, The Long Halloween films, and that carried over into this film. I'm really liking the style and the character designs. Like, Hawkgirl and Green Arrow, in my opinion, have never looked cooler in animation than they did in this film.
Yeah, the Tomorrowverse animation is pretty impressive. I remember being blown away at like shots of them traveling through space, fighting using the Green Lantern energies. I mean, that's what you watch a Green Lantern film for, and they totally delivered.
Oh yeah, like oftentimes in the cartoons, the Green Lantern ring just kind of like shoots out this beam of, whatever it's creating. But in this one, there's like electricity sparking from it and stuff like that. It just seemed so much more powerful and just had a cooler design than other animated fare that we've seen this stuff in.
Yeah. Like that moment when Hal Jordan was trying to contain the Zeta beam.
Oh, yeah.
And like the camera pulled back just to show the massive scale of what he was trying to accomplish and everything. It was insane. It was awesome. I was really in the moment.
Yeah, me too, totally. You know what took me out of the moment, though?
What?
Some of the voice work, and specifically the pronunciations.
Okay.
Did you notice, like, all the different ways that they pronounced, like, Ran or Ron?
Yeah.
Or, like, Shaira or Shaira?
Yeah, I did notice that. I think the voices were great that they chose, but you're right. It seems like there was no consistency in how they were pronouncing things, which doesn't help us as podcasters, for sure.
Yeah, totally. Like, pick something and stick with it so we know what to say. It's nitpicky, but it was noticeable in this film.
I definitely noticed it. It was definitely a subject I was going to bring up if you didn't. What did you think of the pacing of the film? Because I kind of found it to be a little lacking in the beginning. It seemed like everything was rushed in regards to Jon Stewart's origin, and then was fine once it got full on into the story, but it almost kind of took a while to get there. Something fell off in regards to that.
I didn't have an issue with the pacing. I thought the first act pacing was actually really good. I guess you could kind of say it got a little sluggish in the middle. They probably could have tightened that up, but I think the first and third acts were top-notch pacing.
I guess it just kind of seemed like Jon Stewart was thrown in the deep end, and we had no real reason to believe that he was this capable.
Well, let's get into that in our character breakdown. Okay, starting with Jon Stewart / Green Lantern. Real quick on his performance, he was voiced by Aldous Hodge, who of course is playing Hawkman.
Really?
Yeah, in the Black Adam film.
Oh, I thought he did an amazing job here.
He did great. Like, this is probably blasphemy, but I liked his voice for Jon Stewart more than Phil LaMarr,
who did it in the Justice League cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed a few times during the course of this movie where I was like, oh, that was a great performance. I need to watch for who does this voice when the credits roll. And I forgot to. But the fact that it's Aldous Hodge gets me really excited for his Hawkman coming up in Black Adam.
Yeah, I thought it was great casting. If he wasn't playing Hawkman, I would have loved to have seen him play Jon Stewart because I think he could nail it.
Yeah.
Now, in the movie, Jon Stewart was a Marine in the war in Afghanistan, a Medal of Honor winning sniper who now suffers from PTSD. We see him struggle to cope back in the civilian world, which seems almost as chaotic to him as the war.
Yeah, especially when you stumble across two guys trying to light a hobo on fire.
Right? That was fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But did you notice what that hobo was saying?
Something about the light?
Yeah, about the world ending in a bright white light.
Oh, he was talking about the previous universe.
That's what I'm thinking. And he had a British accent. I'm not great with accents, but I was wondering if that was Constantine.
Fascinating.
This film plays a few more homages to other DC animated projects.
Oh, I noticed that. I was surprised for sure a few times.
We'll get into it later. Jon Stewart, he avoids talking to people, and he comes across as very lonely in this movie. When he first gets the Green Lantern ring, he doesn't want anything to do with it because he doesn't know what it is, and he doesn't want to complicate his life. As the film progresses, however, he relearns that he is formidable and capable in the face of danger. He thought he was broken at the beginning because that's how he saw the world at the time, but by the end, he recognizes his power, the power to overcome even the gravest of threats and deadliest of foes. And that's really where the movie gets his name from. Beware my power. He kind of accepts that as his own personal mantra.
Well, that phrase, beware my power, was used on the cover of his very first comic book appearance.
I feel like I should have known that. That's a cool bit of trivia.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a great arc. It was almost like he had to be convinced that he was worthy of wielding this ring because he didn't really believe in himself until the events of this movie taught him otherwise.
Yeah, right. You definitely saw him come to accept the ring over time. Even people were saying oh, I thought you didn't want the ring. And he's like, hey, I'm here to help, essentially. And by the end of the film, he's also happy to learn that he's made new friends, something he seemingly hadn't had in a while.
Yeah, you kind of get the impression that all of his previous friends died in the war.
Right, exactly.
Which is sad.
Yeah. Again, lonely. Now, anyone who's listened to our Green Lantern versus Quasar duel episode will know that in the comics, Jon Stewart was prophesied by the Owens when he was born to be special, as I mentioned earlier. It's not explicitly said that's why the last Owen chose Jon Stewart to be the last Green Lantern and restart the Corps, but that's what I had in mind when I was watching the movie, and I kind of wish they would have explained that because, as is, we don't have a solid explanation for why a rookie like Jon Stewart was able to defeat the greatest Green Lantern in the universe, that was established in the film, one with multiple rings nonetheless.
Right.
If they had established why the Owens chose him, then I think him defeating Hal in the end would be easier to swallow.
Well, it would be like he was fated to do so.
Exactly, yeah. Like a messianic figure or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, appearance-wise, like he wore a green military jacket for most of the film, and it wasn't until he fully embraced himself as Green Lantern and his power that his civilian clothing gave way to his Green Lantern uniform. And let's not kid ourselves, Jon Stewart has the best Green Lantern uniform in the comics. Just with like the gauntlets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's a great design, for sure. I would agree.
One final thing on Jon Stewart, I love that this movie made the Ring a character, because you don't often see that in Green Lantern movies.
I don't know, it operated almost like a version of Siri or something
exactly.
like that.
Yeah,
have conversations with it. The design itself was strange. Like all the Green Lantern Corps rings looked the same. They were like kind of thick and bulky and had like these curved lines etched throughout it.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
Yeah, I like that design. I like it a lot. It's a little bit more alien than just kind of like the standard Green Lantern logo on a simple band kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Moving on to Green Arrow, he was voiced by Jimmy Simpson, who you may know from Westworld.
Oh, I really liked the voice. I didn't know that was the actor. I usually think of Jimmy Simpson as the weirdo from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So I primarily think of him as a comedian, but he definitely has a wide range.
I think he's a good actor. And also, like Aldous Hodge, I think he could totally play the character he voiced in live action.
That, I think, would be a little bit of a harder sell for me.
What?
Just because, again, I think of Always Sunny.
Watch Westworld.
Okay.
Jeez. Now, Green Arrow didn't have much of an arc in this film. He was really here to mentor Jon and guide the audience. It did make some sense that he was the guide, since Oliver and Hal had such a close relationship, seemingly in the film. Like, I even think if this was strictly a Green Lantern film, and they didn't show the Justice League yet, Green Arrow still would have been appropriate as a guide to finding Hal. And considering in the comics, it was his arrow that killed Hal when he was Parallax, including him made for a nice adaptation.
Oh, definitely. I thought he played a pivotal supporting role. I was a little bit disappointed with how much he sucked at archery, though.
What?
Like, he was missing all the fucking time.
Was he?
Yeah.
I guess he was. It's fine. It's in space, dude. The gravity's different there.
Well, I mean, his shots hit when they counted, you know?
Yes.
But sometimes it just took a while for it to happen. For the story's sake, sometimes you have to have a miss.
Right. Moving on to Hawk Girl, aka Shayera Hall, the film borrowed a lot from her Justice League cartoon counterpart, I feel. Like, just really angry and warrior-like. There's not much to the character here, honestly. Like, she didn't even really contribute much to the final battle. She was kind of here just to play up the rivalry between Thanagar and Ran. But I'm not surprised she was made a part of this film, since Hawkgirl and Jon Stewart had a romantic connection in the Justice League cartoon. I'm sure they wanted to capitalize on that.
They kind of hinted at that toward the end of this movie.
Right. She was like, yeah, you should come up to Thanagar because we need a Green Lantern.
Right. Yeah, she was basically just here to represent Thanagar.
As was Adam Strange on behalf of Ran.
Adam Strange was in this movie.
Totally, and I had no idea. Like, he wasn't a part of any of the marketing material. You can't even find a still of him being in this film online.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is that it follows his appearance in the DC Showcase animated short, which was called Adam Strange.
Yeah, the animators here straight up stole his look from the DC Showcase short, like exactly from that. It's such an exact copy that I have to wonder if the short is in continuity with the Tomorrowverse.
I think it is.
It has to be.
I wanted to go back and rewatch the short just to see if the animation style was done in the same way.
It was.
It was? So it's totally a prequel to this movie.
I think so. I think you could say it's like the first bit of animation that we ever saw from the Tomorrowverse. We just didn't know it at the time.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's mind-blowing.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I don't love the look. Like, Adam Strange has had much cooler designs in the comics, and I kind of wish they'd gone with one of those instead. I don't think it needs to be a part of the animated showcase short, but it's still kind of cool that it was.
Yeah, whoever's putting together the Tomorrowverse continuity has a plan.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, they know their shit, and they're working with what they got in a really fun way.
And it kind of makes me look at the shorts in a completely different way. Like, I mean, the Green Arrow short that we got, him and Black Canary in the airport, like, that was a great short. Can that be a part of this universe as well? Not the same animation style, but still a really cool short.
That was one of the better ones, for sure, the Green Arrow.
And I mean, we've seen the shorts kind of tie in with continuity somewhat in this latest Constantine, the House of Mystery, because that was like a bookend to the previous universe that ended with Justice League Dark Apocalypse War.
Right.
But this was very surprising.
Yeah. If you guys want to watch the Adam Strange showcase short, I believe it was included on the Batman Death in the Family collection.
Yes, that's right.
And of course, the Green Arrow one was on the Superman Shazam Return of Black Adam.
Yeah. But regarding Adam Strange in this film, he was also kind of thrown in here because of the Rann-Thanagar War, but he had a little bit more backstory, with his wife and daughter, though they never established that he was an Earthman.
Yeah.
Since the Zeta beams were attracted to him, though, he was able to divert the final Zeta beam at him instead of the planet and made the ultimate sacrifice to save them. So he contributed a bit more to that final battle.
I really like him as a character, and I'm interested in seeing where he goes next.
We need a live-action movie with him.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's a great character.
Yeah, if you want to learn more about him, listen to our Adam Strange versus Star-Lord duel episode.
Yeah, that's a throwback. That one was a while ago. That does it for all of the main characters. Let's move on to the plot breakdown. Now, the film starts with a PTSD flashback to a battle in the war in Afghanistan where John Stewart saved some of his fellow Marine soldiers as a sniper before being attacked himself. Cut to the present in America, and John is on edge, nearly getting arrested for attacking a couple of men who had been trying to set a homeless man on fire. Again, that was crazy, but I'm really glad the cops let him go. An Owen spaceship crashes near his home, and a dying Owen bestows on him a Green Lantern ring. Unable to remove the ring from his hand, John is unwillingly hurtled into space to the Justice League satellite headquarters, where he's confronted by Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, and Vixen. After learning that John's ring formerly belonged to their ally Hal Jordan, they decide Green Arrow should travel to Oa using the Owen spaceship to find out what happened to Hal. John joins Green Arrow in order to return the ring, learning more about the Owens and the Green Lantern Corps along the way.
What did you think of the fight between John Stewart and the other League members?
I thought it was cool. I really liked the design, again, of the League members of Martian Manhunter and Vixen. I thought the battle was great. I loved seeing Vixen in action. I loved seeing Martian Manhunter in action. It was a great action piece altogether.
Yeah, it's cool that they're seemingly going with other characters for their primary Justice League than the previous animated film universe, with characters like Vixen. I liked how the first construct that John Stewart made was very crystalline in its shape, very lacking in form because he didn't know how to quite use the ring yet and everything.
Oh, yeah.
He was just using it on instinct.
Well, yeah, that was the first construct that he made in the battle, but his actual first construct on Earth was a hammer.
Oh, yeah.
He told the ring to pound sand.
That was stupid, though. I hated that. I actually tried to block that from my memory. That was probably the film's worst moment.
I did notice, though, that a lot of his constructs really involved architecture and war. So they were either guns or architectural tools.
Or a semi-truck. He did that a couple of times.
Well, yeah, semi-trucks got to deliver construction equipment.
Yeah, I guess it's on theme. Yeah.
John and Green Arrow arrive on Oa only to find all of the Green Lanterns and Owens dead. While investigating, they are attacked by Hawkgirl, a Thanagarian warrior who had come to Oa to seek help in Thanagar's war against the planet Rann. John and Green Arrow subdue Hawkgirl, who then shows them evidence that the Owens and Green Lanterns were destroyed by a Rannian spaceship and explains how the war was recently escalated when Rand's chief scientist, Sardath, accidentally used Zeta Beam energy to teleport the planet Thanagar into Rand's orbit, despite Hal Jordan's seeming sacrifice in an effort to stop the energy. I do have to say, when I first saw that it was a Rannian ship that took out all of the Green Lanterns and all of the Owens, I was like, what the fuck is this shit?
Yeah, why would they have done that?
Well, not only why would they have done that, but there's no way they could have done that.
Yeah, but it was also kind of convenient that immediately, without having any context of the Rannians, that John Stewart and Green Arrow didn't believe it was the Rannians. They were highly skeptical of the whole situation.
Well, I mean, it's not like Hawkgirl came across as rational, though.
That's true.
She even said, it's not a warrior's place to ask questions. As John, Green Arrow, and Hawkgirl travel to a nearby Rannian outpost, John learns more about his ring and how to charge it. Upon arriving, they find the remains of a battle before Adam Strange, Rand's champion, is suddenly Zeta Beam teleported to the outpost. John and Green Arrow intercede in a fight between Adam Strange and Hawkgirl, and they learn from Adam that Rannians would never attack the Owens. Together, the four decide to travel to the Rannian High Command for answers.
I was glad that John Stewart recognized the Green Lantern Oath as silly.
But
and then by the end, he was like, oh, I get it now. It's not just a silly rhyming thing.
Right. It's a mantra. As John and the others leave the planet in the Owen ship, they encounter an ongoing war nearby in space. They contact a nearly destroyed Rannian battlecruiser whose sole surviving captain explains that Ran did not attack Oa and that Sardath is preparing to destroy Thanagar with Zeta Beam energy. John and the others help save the ship, only for the captain to crash it into a Thanagarian warship.
I thought Shayera's reaction to that was kind of bullshit, because I thought she'd be pissed. She'd be why did you help this Rannian ship only for him to kill my Thanagarian brethren? But in the end, she was just like, oh, they died warriors' deaths.
Yeah, she was like, we're all involved.
Yeah.
All of them. I was like, yeah, I thought that was weird too. I was like, that's dumb.
It seemed out of character for how kind of angry she was.
I'm pretty sure she would be pissed if one Rannian captain managed to take out an entire ship full of Thanagarians.
Right.
Yeah. Adam and Hawkgirl discovered that the energy signature of the Rannian spaceship that destroyed the Owens matched to the same energy signature of a Thanagarian ship responsible for causing other conflicts between Thanagar and Ran. They triangulate that ship's escape paths and investigate that sector's location. Finding a hidden space base inside of an asteroid, John and the others investigate, only to be attacked by Sinestro and his Yellow Lanterns. Defeated, John and the others are imprisoned with Hal Jordan, revealed to be alive. Hal helps them escape their prison, and they escape the asteroid with their weapons to warn them of Sinestro's plan to find Sardath's secret location.
How did the ring escape its yellow energy box container?
Okay, so yes. Green Arrow mentions to John that his ring is powerless against the color yellow while they're imprisoned, but we literally never see that in the film. I have no idea how it escaped the yellow box.
That's true, because every time John used his Green Lantern ring against any member of the Sinestro Corps, stuff would break, but he seemed to be holding his own in a way that isn't usually typical of the yellow color weakness.
Right. I think by John's response about how he's been fighting a color barrier his entire life, that it was like a nod to racism and the fact that John was one of DC's first black superheroes and the first black Green Lantern. But regardless, I think it was a mistake to mention that weakness if they weren't going to utilize it in the film. I do feel that John and the group should have realized that Hal was a bad guy right away when Hal waited until they were on the Owen ship to tell John that he could summon the ring via his own willpower. Why couldn't they do that in the prison?
I actually wondered that too.
Obviously, it's because, Hal Jordan was just playing along. He was really a villain, and that's why he actually waited.
Yeah.
But yeah, they should have been like, we could have used that earlier.
They should have questioned that for sure.
Yeah. With their ship apparently damaged, John and the others are forced to leave hyperspace early, allowing Sinestro to arrive ahead of them and attack Rand's planetary shield. The Owen ship is allowed through, and Adam convinces Rand's high command that Sinestro is responsible for the war and to let them talk with Sardath, who's skeptical, but allows Adam and the others to Zeta Beam teleport to his location.
There was a strange kind of pacing issue when they had to exit hyperspace and travel slower to Ran, and then all of a sudden Sinestro was there. It did feel like they failed to show that there was a long time spent making that journey.
Yeah, I think they just didn't have story to fill in that space. I agree. That part was kind of awkward. Now, while John and the others are on Sardath's satellite base, which is armed with a Zeta Beam cannon, they're suddenly attacked by Sinestro and his Yellow Lanterns, several of whom are killed by Hal Jordan, who then slips away suspiciously. After being forced to kill Sinestro, John and the others follow Hal to Sardath, whom Hal kills after taking the information on how to build a Zeta Beam mega weapon. Hal reveals that he's been possessed by the entity Parallax thanks to Sinestro and is responsible for the deaths of all of the Green Lanterns and Owens, which kind of clarifies how he was able to do that. He probably caught him by surprise. Despite being armed with numerous Green Lantern rings, Parallax, as Hal, is defeated by John and Green Arrow, primarily John when he took all of Hal's rings. Adam sacrifices himself to stop a Zeta Beam that Parallax fired at Ran and Thanagar to teleport the planets to the center of a supernova.
The final battle between John and Hal was pretty interesting. I did want to call bullshit that John would even stand a chance.
That's true. I mean, then that's fair. Parallax in the comics was way more powerful than he was in this movie. He could warp time and space and stuff like that, and he didn't do any of that here.
Here, he just seemed to be as powerful as a standard Green Lantern who wasn't wielding 10 rings. I don't know if wielding more Green Lantern rings makes you extra powerful as a Green Lantern, but you would think in concept it would. That's not the case here.
I do have an issue with the number of times in this film that Sinestro and even John would steal other people's Green Lantern rings. Like, Sinestro kept slipping off John's ring, and we never saw how he did it. It was just like this weird sleight of hand where all of a sudden John was without his ring.
Yeah.
But John kind of used that against Hal Jordan in the end when he pulled off all of his rings and put them on his own fingers.
Well, he did the summoning trick in that regard.
Right. I'm not sure if that's how Sinestro did it, but I don't like the concept of a ring being removed from a Green Lantern's finger so easily.
I mean, it could happen. We've seen it happen.
When?
I remember Batman doing it to Hal Jordan.
Oh, well, yeah, that's fair.
Do you think this movie made it seem like Hal Jordan just sucks?
No, I don't think that at all. I mean, he definitely had the biggest statue in the Hall of Green Lanterns on Oa. So I think they established that he was the opposite of sucky. Like, he was the greatest.
I guess you could rationalize that the being they were fighting against was not really Hal Jordan, but Parallax. And maybe Parallax was just not as well versed in the use of a ring.
I'll take it. I buy it.
But then it's like super tragic how Hal died, not being in control of his own body. And it seems like they just kind of left him up in space to rot without properly addressing his passing. I mean, Green Arrow was sad, but Hal even told him that he was taken over by a parasite.
That's true.
And they never kind of really addressed that.
We do never see what happens to Hal's body. Like, we're not sure if they take it to Earth in the Owen ship. They probably didn't because they never unloaded it before Hawkgirl took off to Thanagar. I don't know. That's a great question. It's kind of a dangling thread for sure.
It plays a little bit different in this movie because in the comics, they didn't know that Parallax was possessing Hal Jordan. That wasn't revealed until Green Lantern Rebirth.
That's right.
Here, they knew it right away.
Yeah, it is a little bit more tragic here for sure.
I wonder if they didn't show what happened to Hal's body because they're planning on spinning this off into a Spectre movie, since we know that Spectre exists within this continuity, as shown in Constantine, House of Mystery.
They could do that. They could absolutely do that. They should do that. Now, in the final scene of this movie, John Green Arrow and Hawkgirl arrive back on Earth, and John releases the Green Lantern rings to find new owners throughout the universe and restart the Green Lantern Corps. Hawkgirl then returns to Rann and Thanagar. I'm assuming to help broker peace between the two planets.
You think they would have been like, hey, you'd be great on our Justice League or something like that, you know?
That's true. I mean, I'm sure she gave John her digits, so they could always just call her up if they need her.
I guess so.
But that's the film. All in all, I really liked this movie. The story was really dense and I'm sure super confusing for anyone not familiar with the stories that they adapted from the comics, but I still think it was a mostly successful adaptation.
Yeah, I think about a lot of the hoops that people may have to jump through in order to get the most out of this story. Like, personally, I'm really glad that I listened to your backstories on Hal Jordan and John Stewart in those duels that we did with those characters. And I was thankful I saw the Adam Strange animated short. And I'm glad I have some passing knowledge of things like Rann and Thanagar and their champions, Hawkgirl and Adam Strange.
Right.
Lots of stuff.
Yes, it is a ton of stuff, which is probably why this film is getting critically panned on Rotten Tomatoes.
Really?
Yeah, it has like a 33% last time I checked.
Oh, damn.
But those people just need to read more books or listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
Either or.
I'm sure they're like, who's this Adam Strange guy and why do I care?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You should care. He's dope. The DC universe is huge, so it was like really nice to see different worlds and races within it take part in the same story. I thought the animation of this movie was great. The voice cast was solid, so I'm giving this film a solid 4 stars. It's not perfect. There are some holes DC needs to fill story-wise in this universe, but as a standalone film, again, solid.
Yeah, I think it was ambitious in what it tried to do.
Oh, totally.
It was a far more complex and interesting story than I initially thought the movie was going to have. I agree with 4 stars. That said, you're right. There are some animated films that I think DC needs to put out that might add a little bit more context to what happened here.
Yeah, like a Justice League and maybe Green Lantern film prequel to this one.
Yeah.
That could work. But that does it for this review. Let us know what you thought about the movie by writing to us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com or by visiting us on Instagram or Twitter. You can find links to all of our accounts by checking out our show notes or visiting our website, dynamicduel.com.
And on our site, you can also find a link to our Patreon page where we offer ad-free episodes of the show, bonus content, including top 10 episodes and bloopers, monthly live movie watch-alongs, and access to our Discord chat server. Again, check it out right after this episode at patreon.com/dynamicduel, which is linked in our show notes. Our lowest tier is only $2 a month, and it's $10 a month to become an executive producer.
In our next episode, in lead up to our review of Netflix's Sandman series, we will be doing a duel between the King of Dreams, Sandman, and Doctor Strange's nightmarish villain, Nightmare.
Yeah, he's the ruler of the nightmare dimension.
But is he the King of Dreams?
Nightmare dreams, yeah.
That does it for this episode. We want to give a big thanks to our executive producers, John Speas, Ken Johnson, John Starosky, Zachary Hepburn, Dustyn Balcom, Miggy Matanguihan, Brandon Estergard, Nathaniel Wagner, Levi Yeaton, Austin Wesolowski, Nick Abanto, and AJ Dunkerley for helping make this podcast possible. And we'll talk to you guys next week. Up, and away,
True believers.